Sprinkles, how you doing, bro? Feel like going to Paris after completing the game? Not really. I mean, I don't think Paris has what the game has, right? And I don't think that's the music that they currently listen to. It's a beautiful game, but I don't think it's reminiscent or even indicative of what Paris would be like. And I've no interest in going to France whatsoever. I don't know why, but something about France just doesn't really appeal to me. How are you doing, bro? Alistar, how you doing, bro? Lies of P has a really good soundtrack and similar French epoch style. I think I played a little bit of Lies of P, but wasn't really my thing. I ended up sort of tapping out because it's like, oh well, you know, whatever. How you doing, Alistar? Tekla, how you doing, brother? Yep, we're back. We're back, boys. It's been a good weekend. Now it's time to get back to work. Time to chill. As I told you guys last week, we're going to start streaming a little bit later. During the day. I don't know if we'll always start this late, but a little bit later I think is a bit better because at least it falls in a better time slot, I guess you could say. So that everyone can sort of show up and hang out. Collab with 33. I'm looking forward to the movie. Did you guys hear that? Sony actually approached the creators of Clair Obscur, Sandfall. Apparently, Sony wants to make a movie about Clair Obscur, which, in my opinion, it would be a good movie. It would be a really good movie if that actually happened. So yeah, I'm very excited for that. I would definitely go watch that just because the lore of the game is absolutely insane. I don't believe they can make the movie without massive wokeification. Maybe not, but we have to also wait and see. Remember, things are starting to change, right? Things are starting to change. It's taking time, but I think a big reason why it's not immediately noticeable, and I absolutely understand that, right? For a lot of people, it just won't immediately be noticeable, is because a lot of the things you're seeing now will only sort of, or already started during the height of the woke era. You know, so if you're thinking, for example, about movies, a lot of the movies that you're seeing today were already in filming 3 years ago, you know, if not longer ago, because it can sometimes take up to 5 years for a movie to be made. So, you know, I'm talking from like the first inception of it, the writing of it, and then finally the actual funding and all the rest of it can take a long time. So we're going to see the changes, if changes are indeed coming. We're only going to see those changes in maybe, 4 or 5 years from now. We'll finally start to see some shows and movies and stuff come out that isn't necessarily as woke. But I do think there's a better chance now that we see, Logan, how you doing, brother? That we see stories come out that isn't necessarily as woke. It's not zero. There's still going to be woke stories, obviously, right? That's just the nature of the beast. That's there's still a lot of people in the industry that are activists and that want their activism. And for a lot of companies, they will obviously ride the wave all the way down to destruction. Right? Regardless, they just won't care. So yeah, you're gonna have to wait and see. What are the kind of comments that got your Twitch account banned, Logan? I think the story will work as a film and the characters are realistic enough for it to work. Oh yeah, I think as a film, the story will work fantastically well. Z Vengeance, how you doing, brother? Yeah, but dude, I've been calling out the woke stuff for a while, and I have no interest in stopping. So if Twitch wants to ban me, let them do it. Nothing I have said on this channel has been fake or false. So, hey, you can do what they want. Mateson, how you doing, brother? No. I don't know if I want to see Robert Pattinson as Gustav. Like, I don't know if I want to see... To be fair, I don't have anything against Robert Pattinson. Yeah, he was a glittery vampire, but aside from that, I think he's a decent, good actor. You know? I liked him in Batman. I did actually like him in Batman. I know many people hated Batman, but I actually didn't. I thought it was a decent movie. I wouldn't say it's like the greatest Batman I've ever watched, but it was good. You know, it was much better than I expected. Maybe that's why I enjoyed it, because I went into that Batman thinking, oh man, here we go. Glitter Boy is going to be Batman. This is going to be crazy. I don't know. And then he turned out to be actually pretty decent. You know, it's like, oh, okay, he's not that bad, actually. 24's Lighthouse looks similar to Gustav. I assume Twitch's philosophy was much like China's philosophy. They don't care what you say, as long as no one sees you say it. No one knows what Twitch's philosophy is. Twitch bans people or doesn't ban people basically because they feel like it. We don't know. That's one of the problems. That's one of the reasons so many people are upset and angry at Twitch. Because there's no way of knowing, right? You see people getting banned for stuff, and then you see other people doing far worse stuff, but they don't get banned. The one thing we know for a fact is that Twitch is heavy left-leaning. So we know that, right? If you're on the left, you can say a lot more stuff than what you can say on the right. I don't know if that will change, although I do think with Asmongold being as popular as he is now, that will likely start to change. I don't know if it will completely ever change, but, might change a bit. Sin Family, how you doing, bro? Has been able to beat Clooney's nipples? I don't know about that. I personally preferred Christian Bale. To me, Christian Bale was the Batman. Like from an acting perspective, from the story perspective, these Batmans were just the best. That's what happens when you have no morals and principles. You're hard to read. Tekla, I don't disagree with that. Although I don't even necessarily think that that's Twitch's problem, right? TMB, how you doing, bro? I don't think that's Twitch's problem. I think Twitch's biggest problem is actually the fact that they've been completely and utterly infested with far left people. Like, I think the whole company from the ground up is infested with far left people. And so it makes it very difficult. Now, I'm not suggesting that you can't have far left people working for your company. In fact, I think you should have people from every political aisle working for your company so that you can ensure that you're, reasonably balanced in all things. I think the problem that Twitch runs into is that it cannot be reasonably balanced because it got rid of any sort of balance. And a lot of it happened because for, more than a decade, Twitch had a CEO that didn't even know that he was the CEO of Twitch. Like, the dude never showed up for anything, never spoke about anything, literally didn't do shit. He got paid to be the CEO, but didn't know anything. I don't know if you remember the sort of Wild West days of Twitch, where, no one even really knew who the CEO was. Dan Clancy came along and he sort of changed that. But thanks to what was his name again? The old CEO. Oh man, Emmett Shear, I think he's called, or Shearing, one of the two. But yeah, thanks to him being completely absent, they were able to completely politicize Twitch. And for a while it worked, right? Because most people online were sort of left-wing because the right had no real place to speak anywhere. And so, no one really cared too much. And of course, as time goes on, you finally start to see voices come out of nowhere that you previously wouldn't have expected. I think one of the greatest things that could have happened to Twitch, or maybe just online dialogue in general, is Asmongold coming out as not a wokey, and also XQC coming out as not a wokey. I think the fact that you now have very large content creators that aren't towing the woke lines, I think is good, right? And I'm not suggesting that Asmongold is a conservative. You'd be stupid if you thought that. But he's at least not far left, which might be sort of the start of some kind of change, especially since Asmongold is the most watched streamer on Twitch at the moment. By the way, TMB, you're Canadian, right? Caleb, how you doing, bro? By the way, how many Canadians do we have in the house? Institutional bias? How's that, Caleb? Beyonce, how you doing, bro? I heard your country just voted again for the Liberal Party. After more than a decade of the Liberal Party, you guys are running it back one more time. Maybe this time's the different one, right? TMB, why did you have to? Just depends on if they can get away with banning them or not. I think their plan is to slowly filter out people who aren't ideological on board with the leftover time. But if they overextend, people will take their audience to another platform quickly. They want their opposition to fade into obscurity. I don't know about that, though, because I don't think there's any point at which you'll be able to get rid of someone like Asmongold or XQC. Brando, how you doing, brother? Yeah, my weekend was brilliant. Thanks for asking, man. How was yours? What I don't understand is that Poilievre, or however you guys pronounce his name, I don't know, French pronunciation and Canadian pronunciation aside, seemed to me like a far better candidate than anyone the Liberals could have ever put forth. Canada is in the state that it is in because of the Liberal government. Canada's state isn't going to get better because of the Liberal government. They're the ones who caused it. So I'm not entirely sure. That I think Canadians voted for this guy. And do you think tariffs are going to get better, TMB? Do you think this Liberal guy is going to get your tariffs better? Asmongold is probably too large to fail. His audience will go to new platforms. Oh, yeah. I tell you what. This new guy is going to destroy Canada to the point where Canada will be the one that begs Trump to drop his tariffs and give them a chance. I listened to a podcast yesterday of an economist talking about the Canadian thing, right? And Canada's economy is already in the gutter. You guys don't have that many years left, and you've just handed them 4 more to try and see if they can run it back one more time. So, and if you think BRICS is an actual... Dude, I'm in a BRICS country. I know more about BRICS than any one of you living in the West. I can tell you now, there is no BRICS. There is no giant economic opposition to anything. The BRICS nations consist of China. All of the other nations, India is only in there for their own gain. They couldn't give 2 shits about BRICS as a rule, right? China is only in there for China. They don't give a shit about BRICS, right? They don't care about BRICS. China is just in there for China. India is just in there for India. South Africa, Brazil, Russia, they're all just in there because they can't be in anyone else's place. But do you really want to build an entire alliance with just them? I don't know if that's a good idea. So fundamentally, if you think BRICS is going to be an answer to the West or to Trump, I have bad news. It's not going to be. The BRICS nations are not united on anything because each of them, at least the big ones, Russia, China, and India, they want to be in charge. They don't want to be told what to do. At least with the West, you had America in charge. All of the other nations accepted that America was in charge. And so it sort of worked out. You don't have that with BRICS because none of the nations in BRICS accepts that China is in charge. All of them just sort of act as if they're in charge. Yeah, so I can guarantee you no one needs to worry about BRICS. It's not going anywhere. It's also not coming from anywhere. From Japan, Korea, China agreed to work together. The US is... No, it's not. It's not. People are completely overreacting because, yes, these countries met up for a meeting, but in the same vein, all of those countries, except for China, sent envoys to America to try and deal with the tariffs and drop the tariffs. So I'm not worried. I think people are jumping to a lot of conclusions. Now, I'm not suggesting, right, that the tariffs is the greatest thing ever. I'm not really one of those people. I understand the logic behind the tariffs, and I think that is a good idea. Logically, I understand what Trump is trying to do. Do I necessarily think it's the right way to do it? No, not necessarily. But then again, I don't really know. We'll have to wait and see. What I find suspicious is when people just outright say, worst thing you could have ever done. Like, this is going to lead to the end of the world. And it's like, okay. I wouldn't be that quick to say that. I think you're making a lot of assumptions with literally zero evidence whatsoever. Because we can run this down. So we can actually do the math here. What does it benefit any nation to have a trade agreement with China? Like, just tell me, right? So America is now tariffing your goods. You no longer want to trade with America, so you make your trade agreements with China. What do you think you get out of those trade agreements? Tekla, the fact that the West isn't allying with Trump against China is an indication of the stupidity of the Western leader, not an indication of Trump. People need to understand something. In a post-American world, so let's imagine America is no longer the world superpower. what do all of you do? Like, what do most of your countries do? Because right now, if you live in Europe, what little manufacturing you still have, the US buys. You're still able to export your cars to the US. You're still able to export your goods to the US. That's still possible. Right? That still happens. America is willing to buy it. Guess who isn't willing to buy any of your goods? China. China is an export economy. It's not a consumption economy. In fact, overall, if you were to go just on people, China is a third world nation. The overwhelming majority of Chinese people live in villages in abject poverty. They don't have money to buy shit. And the Chinese market isn't open to anyone in the West. So if you remove America, every country in the Western world is stuck with no one to buy their shit. Because right now, all countries only survive because America is willing to buy your shit. I don't mean shit as in it's bad stuff. I just mean you have stuff. America is willing to buy your stuff. If you remove America, you lose, what, for most countries, you lose about 40% of your export. Some countries, it's as high as 60, 70% of your export is gone overnight, with no other country that's willing to take it. Because all the other countries are already taking as much as they want. You're not bringing it to South Africa. 92% of South Africans live in abject poverty. They can't buy your BMW or your Volkswagen. So you're not selling it here. You can try and sell it in India, but there most people are very poor as well. So they're not buying your cars. They're not buying your expensive stuff. They're buying local. And India also relatively protects their market somewhat. So fundamentally, you remove America, and you have nothing to sell to anyone. Your economies come crashing down. So the idea that people think that they can have the current world with China being the new power and America going off on its own is absurd. Because it just shows you how little you understand of the world economy. Every country in the world suckles at the teeth of America. America keeps everyone fed, keeps everyone rich and healthy and doing its thing. You remove that, you're in trouble. Verse 48, it's not about cars. That's not the only thing America exports. Your entire computer from start to finish is American. It's just not produced in America. Most of everything that you use in your house is American. It was American scientists and American inventors that came up with it. It's just not produced in America. Cars, that's small change. America wants those production or that production back. And you kind of have to understand that it's not just America that should want that production back. The rest of the world should want it back too. Because if you don't have production, you cannot defend yourself. I mean, we can make this super, super simple. If all of your production is in China, for example, and you produce nothing of your own, if China decided to invade you, how do you stop them? You don't have the steel mines. You get all of your steel from China. You don't have the factories. All of your products are produced in China. What little production you may have, because no country will ever have zero production, isn't anywhere near enough to match what the Chinese has. So you are effectively a slave state at that point. And you have to accept that. This means that if China tells you get wrecked, you get wrecked. because they're in charge. So technically, all countries in the world should be looking at bringing their manufacturing back and taking it away from China. It's I think foolish not to. And you don't even have to sort of think that there's malice on China's part. Right? Even if China isn't malicious, it makes no sense that you should have no manufacturing in your own country. Microchips in America without importing. He don't understand that either. Why can't they produce it in America without importing? What would they need that isn't in America? The liberals can't do shit. But you can't fix that in just 4 years. Kishros, how you doing, bro? To be fair, I think Europe's problems is more European Union than anything else. I don't know. The European Union has some very weird rules. I think a lot of people jump to conclusions way too quickly. What about you? But I'm probably not a good example of the average European. I think the biggest issue in the modern era, at least from my perspective, is that most people don't understand economics. Most people don't understand basic economics. They don't understand how most things work, and so they know, for example, they don't like Trump. So whenever Trump says something, they just immediately go, "Oh, bullshit," right, and then jump to a bunch of conclusions. They're not natural to North America for microchips. Name the resources. It's fine. I'm not suggesting that there aren't resources that isn't in America, but name it. Like, what resource is specifically required in microchips that cannot be mined in America? More specifically, do you think it's cheaper to buy the resource, or is it cheaper to buy the microchip? Because I can tell you, I live in a country that has a primary export market, meaning we export primary goods, not the ones that's actually made out of it. Not that great, because you're the one exporting all of these rare minerals to the rest of the world. They turn it into actual useful stuff, and you buy it back for multiple times more than what you ended up selling the raw materials for it. The nuclear war? Nice. Yes, right. That's a nice way of doing it. And it's nice that they actually thought about implementing that. Like, not gonna lie. But no, I think the issue is that there's an awful lot of assumptions that's made that aren't really backed up by anything. just quickly trying to make a point here. Um, okay, wait. One more, and then we'll talk about this first 48. I'm doing active research to talk to you about your claims, good sir. Leftists on Discord hate me at this point. Most leftists hate people who aren't leftists. Yeah. All right. So, first 48. Let's talk about this, right? So, first things first. Here are the primary ingredients required in order to make microchips. Right? You need silicon, aluminium or aluminum, and copper. These are the three. The first one, America has a shit ton of silicon. Every country in the world has it. It's basically sand. Aluminum is the one where it gets a little bit tricky because America does have aluminum, right? Because aluminum isn't mined straight up. It comes from another ore called bauxite ore, or bauxite, or bauxite. I don't know exactly how to pronounce that. And then from that, you extract, through refining, you extract alumina, which then can be turned into aluminum or aluminium, whichever one you prefer to call it. So fundamentally, America does have some, but even if it doesn't have enough or that much, it's easily imported. America already imports a crap ton of it. So, either or. And then if we talk about copper mines, America does have copper mines. So it would appear of the three key ingredients that you need in order to produce microchips, America has two of the three. So what else would be required? Because I think the thing that you're referring to, and what most people reject or at least neglect to call out, is not that America doesn't have access to the materials. Is that America doesn't have the refineries. They used to have the refineries, and those refineries, and often in a lot of cases, actually still exist. The problem is just that they were shut down thanks to trade agreements. Those refineries can be restarted. You can get those refineries up and running again, in which case you can make all of the stuff that you need right at home. So I'm still not sure how this defeats the principle or the idea that America should be producing its own microchips. Traders are checking out games or just talking? Nameless, how you doing? We're going to be playing games in a bit. Now we're just talking about American manufacturing and if America could make microchips. here in Finland and Estonia, the common right doesn't know where the EU demands end and executive starts. How about Apple? How you doing, bro? Does it have all the minerals and resources domestically in sufficient quantities? Yeah, I literally just said aluminum appears to be the one that America doesn't have in sufficient quantities, but that's easily fixable. Right? That's very easily fixable. You do realize that the only reason China can do most of it is because China imports the raw minerals, refines it, and then makes it. Well, China doesn't even make their own microchips. Not tier 1 anyways. They can do like tier 3, I think it is at the moment. So fundamentally, there's no reason why America cannot do exactly what China is doing. Okay, but how about Apple? My question to that would be, just because it's hard to do, does that then mean that we shouldn't do it? Because I remember people said this in South Africa about 15 years ago. 15 years ago, the power started to go out here in South Africa. Right? But this was still small, right? This was like very, very small. Not really the biggest deal in the world. But you know, it was starting to happen. And at the time, people were talking about nuclear power. Like we should open nuclear power plants. And everyone in the media and all of the people like, no, it takes 10 years to build a nuclear power plant. That's way too long. We don't have time to wait for that. We need to go solar. We're going to do solar. Because that's fast. We can do it in 2.5 years. In the preceding 15 years that we've, more than 15 years, in fact, 17 years, that we've now waited for this, you know, we obviously didn't do the nuclear power plant because that would have taken too long. We've done about 2 solar farms. They don't do shit. And we still have load shedding. If we started 17 years ago, we would have almost finished our second nuclear power plant now. But at the time, it was too long. Wouldn't have worked. We needed a fast solution to this problem. We still haven't solved the problem. And we're now 17 years on. So the answer is, or the question is, how long do you think you can wait? Right? Like how like just because something is hard, does that mean we shouldn't do it? Or does that mean we have to start as soon as possible? Because I would argue you have to start as soon as possible. Because the current landscape does not look good. How about Apple? No one said that it's a 4-year plan. By the way, I don't think that's what Trump and them are after. This is why Trump is doing the tariff thing the way that he's doing. Why he's trying to force everyone back to the drawing board to drop their tariffs against America so that America and other countries can trade freely. I think Trump's plan is a lot longer than that. I think that's why you're seeing J.D. Vance in the news so often now, why J.D. Vance has been allowed to speak a lot more, because normally you don't see that. Normally with vice presidents, you barely see the vice president doing anything. But J.D. Vance is clearly doing a lot, like a lot more than most vice presidents do. And I think the reason for it is their plan, right, if Americans vote for them in 2028, their plan is that J.D. Vance wins the next election. And with the next election, the plan just continues, right? So there's no... there's no such thing on like a global scale of quick fixes, right? People expect to see results from presidents, and it's oftentimes laughable. Like, I don't know if you remember, it was like a month after Trump won, and people were saying, well, prices are still not down. This is bullshit that you actually vote for this. And I was like, wait, what? Actually, it was a day after. The day after Trump won, people were sort of lambasting Trump for not bringing prices down. I was like, dude, you really think a guy can bring down prices in a day? Like a guy can start doing stuff that will eventually bring down prices, but it will most certainly not reflect immediately. Like, that's never going to happen. Economies don't work that way. They don't work that quickly. Kind of annoying, but also at the same time, it is what it is. And by the way, I said the exact same thing when Biden got into office. You know, Biden won, and then suddenly a bunch of conservatives were like, oh, see, he didn't solve shit. And I was like, dude, the guy's been in office for a week. Like, I don't think he's going to fix anything, but also it's kind of stupid to go, he should fix everything in a week. Like, what are you talking about? That's not how it works. You're going to have to give him more time. And then if he hangs himself, then you go, lol, see, told you. But you can't judge what a president is doing in like the first week. From the other side of the globe, be it China, EU, or US. So I think it's a good thing that countries produce their own stuff. How about Apple? I agree with you. I don't think you'll ever get to a place where every country produces all of their own stuff, right? That will never happen. Because there are just some things where it makes no sense to produce it, in your own country because you don't have it. So, for example, would it make sense for a country that has no gold deposits to have gold refineries? No, it'd be stupid, right? Why? You don't have gold. You may as well build the refineries way closer to the place where the gold is mined and then just refine it there, because that makes more sense. Then you just buy the refined product instead. But, that's sort of something that you can eventually sort out. The issue with the current system is it's not operable. This cannot continue to work the way that it is. Oh, but I'm not taking it personal. Like, I'm not offended by it. Caleb, oh yeah. Particularly, that is also true. Kamala Harris. She was almost the president. Can you imagine what the world would have been like if Kamala was the president? That would have been interesting. Don't know if it would have been good. Sad to see that people look down on centrist when in actuality it's the most healthy and reliable of the three political ways of thinking. I don't know. I used to describe myself as a centrist. I do think, though, what I would retort to that is that I don't think there is such a thing as a true centrist, because I think no one is actually a centrist. I think if you bore it down, most people lean to one way or another. A lot of people just find it easier to say I'm a centrist in order to sort of circumvent a lot of problems. That's just how you doing. Patches, that's not what we were talking about. We're all aware the making the actual chip is a lot more advanced than that. The claim was that America doesn't possess any of the raw materials required to make the chips, so they would have to import all of that, which makes it highly inefficient. But even just going on Grok and asking them, does China have all of the raw materials, makes it very clear that no, they don't. The thing that China has in abundance is silicon, right? They're the world's largest producer of raw silicon. But then in terms of gallium, they only have that because of refinery. They don't have their own bauxite mines, but they buy the bauxite and then they refine it into aluminum or gallium. Germanium, where China again gets most of it from refineries. They don't really make it themselves. Almost all of the materials here from China is things that they get from other countries and then refine it. So they don't necessarily make it themselves. They just refine it in China. So again, something that can be solved. But yeah, onto the actual chip manufacturing that will need to be done by highly specialized plants. But you already have TSMC that has committed to I don't know how many billions of dollars of investment in America to produce the chips in America itself. Those factories will take between 2 and 3 years to come online. So that stuff is already in the pipeline, as it were. Alasdor, I do agree with that sentiment. I have a lot more respect for someone that at least stands up for what they believe in, even if they're wrong, right? If I can see that someone they're willing to defend their point, but also, and perhaps most importantly, they are principled enough to acknowledge defeat. So if you make a point and they do realize that, oh, shit, I wasn't thinking about that. I have respect for that because I know how hard it is. No one likes to admit when they're wrong. Obviously not, right? It's sort of, it hurts your ego. You feel a bit silly. So I have respect for someone that can just openly say, sure, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Which sadly these days seems to be very much a dying trait. People will literally go to death just holding on to beliefs because they refuse to admit that, oh, wait, no, okay, sorry. I got that completely wrong. So what are you guys up to? Like, what did you guys do today? This is the first time in a long time that I'm joining a lot of you at the end of your day. Of course, the Americans I'm joining at the start of your day. So you guys can just tell me what you have planned for today, I guess. What I'm trying to figure out is why is this not showing every single one of the messages? Try again. Because Alice, Z-Vengeance, your messages didn't come through. Very interesting. Grava, how you doing, brother? Papa Shanga, how you doing, bro? For some reason, some messages on the multi-chat just isn't getting through, guys. I'm not sure why it's not coming through. No, it's not the tuber's fault. Maybe that's fixed it now. Hopefully. I'm playing Dark and Darker and I'm watching the stream to get ideas of what to clip later for VODs. Nice. I got some wasabi chips. There's some wasabi peanuts that I've seen the other day, and everything in me was just like, I don't want that. That looks weird. But I don't know. Wasabi doesn't taste that good. I'm keeping an eye on chats here because it seems like the chats are beyond broken at the moment here. Let's hope it gets fixed. Top versus a set. And how's the gangplank going? Although set's pretty... You should be able to own this set now. Comes first, which is a fresh and strong taste, and then a powerful sunflower oil taste comes. Oh, crap. I like the wasabi almonds the most. YouTube chat looks fine, no delay. Cyrus, how you doing, bro? Oh, so what I'm talking about isn't like on YouTube. Yes, the chat's coming through fine because I can see this chat here moving, but I have a separate window where my chat is up so that I can see what you guys are typing, and it's a combined chat so that I can see everyone's chats. The problem is that one seems to be slow as shit. Like, it's either not showing messages at all, or it's, like, I don't know, just doing weird crap at the moment. Easy to punish, but he has all in. True. Yeah, I would say Seth. The problem with Seth is he can very quickly turn on you. And once he does turn on you, it's very difficult to escape that guy. He can really make your life hell. But I still feel like with Gangplank, you can harass the living crap out of Seth. And if you're playing it well, like if you have First Strike, for example, or I don't think Hell of Blades would work, but I do think First Strike would work well. With this speed up, can't remember what it's called, right? When you hit someone, you get like a speed boost as well as healing. I mean, that thing, that should keep you out of harm's way and make sure that you can basically harass to your heart's content. You started the game yet? It sure is peak and amazing. I have, yes. We've played already 2 days, I think. Been having a whale of a time with it. It is a phenomenal game. All I know is this weekend, Fnatic beat G2, which means it was a good weekend for me. My team won. And that's always good news. Some hell portal open somewhere. Oh yeah, I heard about that. Were any of you affected by it? The power outage in Europe. Apparently, like 3 countries got completely blown out. France, was it France, Portugal, and someone else that almost the entire country was without power. Spain, Portugal, and a part of France. Yeah. All was fine. You're in the Netherlands. Nice. Grofalza, you guys dodged that bullet. You see, now the Twitch chat isn't coming through. Oh boy, oh boy. Is that his like first time? Yeah, Cesius, we're just sitting here going, really? You guys have never experienced this? Interesting. Okay, let's hope Twitch chat now comes through. The Inky Black Dot, how you doing? Here on a new channel, coming by to check in. How are you, Blood Vixen? Are we still in thralls of Bidenomics? Don't know. Like, that's a question I can't answer because it's very difficult to know how much damage it would have done and how long you'll be dealing with that damage, right? Doing good. Glad to see you still kicking. Oh, yeah. How would I not? Any reason you made a new channel? Like, is there a specific reason for it or just funsies? Listen, Portugal and Spain was affected. Dude, but I think for Europeans, it would be very awkward. I can sort of gate that for Europeans, it would be a very awkward time. I am genuinely getting annoyed at this. See, this is what's annoying. Only some of the Twitch messages are coming through. Why is this happening? Sorry, guys. We're having a bit of an issue here. Because I'm seeing some messages, but I'm not seeing all messages. Can people in Twitch quickly chat? I just want to see something. Just write whatever. Shadow Rodney, how you doing? I see this. Let me show you guys. It's going to be a bit disconcerting, but like you guys are chatting on Twitch, but it's not showing up on multi-chat. Mega bloody annoying. Let me see if I can fix this. I have this set up. But it's not showing up. Why are you not showing up? All right, let's try it now. So I'm seeing that come through. Just saw Z Vengeance message come through. I'm not seeing Shadow Rodney, Noni. Alright, so clearly this thing is broken. Caleb's message just came through. I mean, I have a way to fix it. It's not a good way to fix it, but it is at least a way to fix it. All right. I'm just going to go with this because I can at least see what you guys are writing. They say console brings more revenue. Help me out. Is Steam a bigger market than console gaming? I'm arguing someone about that. So, since 2021, PC has exploded past console. And the other problem, of course, is that a lot of the handhelds that people use, like the Steam Deck, also has access to Steam. So I would say if you're talking about combined, mobile might or console might still be slightly bigger than Steam. But if you're talking separately, then Steam is likely the biggest single market there is. Because Steam has well over 200 million daily active users. And that's just the active users. We don't actually know what the actual number is of total Steam users. Because remember, it's a private company, so they don't reveal that. So yeah, I would argue it's a good bait that that's I would argue that Steam is bigger. It's fine. Only the main character messages come through. See, Vengeance, the issue is it's not coming through. It seems like there's something wrong with Twitch's API. See, because I'm seeing on my chat, even on Restream, so not just OBS, but even on Restream, I'm only seeing like every third or fourth message coming through from you guys. And yeah, even on YouTube, it's only some of the messages that's coming through. Who broke what? This is going to be terrible to play video games on because I will have to do pop out, I guess, for both chats. We'll do pop out. Now I have to do a Twitch pop out as well. I haven't streamed like this in a very long time. All right, I can at least see you guys now. Now I can see chats. I have to look at two chats, but it's all right. Don't forget that Steam allows indie studios to release games on like PlayStation and Xbox, which tends to be bigger players only and such. No, I'm using OBS Stream Elements for it, and it's broken for some reason, and it has to be broken because neither Restream or Stream Elements' multi-chat function is working. So I don't know what's going on. Oh, Inky, so we know that it did, right? So one of the things that was sort of nice for me to see, because as you guys know, I'm a massive PC advocate, but one of the beautiful things to see was that prior to 2021, the console game market were much larger than the PC one. The PC market was actually considered relatively small. But since then, it has completely exploded. So PC is now larger than console by quite a significant margin, actually. Still not combined. So, no, actually, I think combined. Yeah. because PC has something like 900 plus million people on PC, whereas console is something like 600 million, all in all. So PC is just becoming the premier place to play video games. Steam Deck, yeah. But I mean, portable PCs, or what people like to refer to as pocket PCs. This is your Steam Decks and your handhelds. They're, in my opinion, going to be the death of console. I think if pocket PCs or portable PCs continue to get more and more powerful, why would you even buy a console if you could literally just buy a Steam Deck, buy a controller, and you can play it anywhere? You can plug it into your monitor, and you have a big screen. It operates similarly to a PC. There's less and less choice ultimately for a console, because the biggest thing that console players would always cite as why they don't want to move to PC is PC is a bit fiddly. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you have to figure stuff out. So it can be a bit of a weird one. Whereas you don't really have that anymore. Nowadays you sort of, if most PCs just work out of the box, but then if you have like a portable PC, you don't have to worry about anything. Wait till mobiles will be portable PCs at some point. Yeah, that will probably happen. I don't want that to happen, but that'll probably happen. Whereas a ROG Ally is like 400 a better price point than a PS5, Switch, and more freedom. There's Unreal 4 games running on current gen phones. Yeah, so I literally saw a gameplay of a game. I don't know what the game is, but someone literally went and said, people who complain about mobile games, these are the games we're playing these days. And I looked at the graphics and I was like, holy shit. All right, that's not terrible, actually. That's a pretty good that's pretty good graphics. Not gonna lie. Still, it sucks because it's mobile. And the only reason I hate mobile, I think I would probably have been okay with mobile games if it wasn't for the fact that they are beyond scumbag. Like, the way mobile games are operated, it is just such scumbaggery. At some point, the ROG Ally costed $8K during some end of year special. Wow. See, I just don't need a portable PC. I have a PC. When I want to play video games, I sit at my PC. If I'm not at my PC, it's because I don't want to play video games at that point. So why would I need a portable one? That just would not make sense to me. I don't know if you would be able to do a Bri stream or whatever on one of those pocket PCs. Grofal, what do you mean more Oblivion? Kishras, that is definitely one of the reasons why so many console players still love console. There's some games out there like Vampire Survivors and a few others, but I agree that egregious business practices are running rampant on mobile. It's compromised. Well, it's not so much compromised because that's how it always was, right? Compromise would suggest that at one point it wasn't so disgustingly monetized, but it's always been incredibly over monetized. I'm living in WoW, so you make my day bearable, and thanks for that, Kishras. It is my absolute pleasure, sir. Dark patterns catch on? What do you mean dark patterns? Isn't the framework one, that's the one that Linus Tech Tips invested in, no? My messages on the screen? Z-Vengeance, what do you mean you can see your messages on the screen? I mean, I'm seeing your messages here, but for some stupid reason, the pop-up just broke. Oh man, this is terrible. What is going on with this bloody? What is going on? Like, everything just doesn't seem to work. The pop-up for Twitch chat just broke. Like, I can see messages on multi-chat that I can't see in the chat function at all, right? It's just not there. YouTube chat appears to be fine. YouTube chat seems to have fixed itself now. But Twitch still seems to have some kind of problem. I am using OBS, yeah. They're fine. Only we get broken into tubers, I tell you. Wow. YouTube, you're gonna let them talk to you that way? The Twitch Andes is currently blaming all the YouTube Andes for breaking the stream, apparently. I don't know what the hell's going on. Because even Twitch's pop-up chat is broken. And that's not supposed to be broken because that's from Twitch's website. When things don't work, it is mega annoying. See, now let's see if this fixes it. Maybe a desync or something. Niara, how you doing? No, restarting isn't really an option, Z-Vengeance. Twitch does not like you restarting streams. It tends to throw a hissy fit when you do that. USB-A is the most secure, but it's bulky. I just don't understand. Cyrus, I'm the only thing I can think of is that it has to be Twitch because even their pop-out chat's broken. The only time I can read the messages from Twitch is in the actual Twitch website. It won't communicate with multi-chat. In the sense that they won't want to make it so that games need to show you the real-world value of in-game shop items. Oh, yes, that. Personally, I think... What's annoying is the fact that I have to admit that I don't mind the EU for doing that. I hate the EU. Not Europe. Love Europe. Love the European countries. Hate the EU. The organization. But every once in a while, they have a decent idea that makes me go, shit, I don't really want to give them credit for this. But you have to, right? You have to be fair and balanced. But yeah, no, I would argue one of the things that we need to get rid of immediately is in-game currencies. I mean, shop currencies should immediately be removed. If you want to sell something, you have to sell it for the actual monetary value. You have to show people exactly how many dollars they're spending, as well as how many dollars they have spent up until now. You make it reset once a year, but they need to be able, on the front page of every single page of the shop, they need to be able to see in big big bold font, this is how much you've spent up until now. Alisdor, I mean, we've seen just how unethical these cash shops have become. Attached to the bottles, aren't that nice? But we've seen just how incredibly scumbag these guys can get, right? Like the way in which they monetize things. Also the way in which they sort of sell their currencies. That to me is probably one of the most disgusting ones. But I know how you doing, brother. So for example, you want to buy a mount. The mount is $9.99. But in terms of currencies, you can't buy $9.99 worth of currency. You can either buy $5 or you can buy $15. So now you have to choose. Which one are you going to pick up? And of course, all of this is done with the help of psychologists. It is psychologists that have figured out the exact number to get someone to buy more. You see, because now you've bought the $15 one, you bought the mount, but now you have $5 left. But nothing in the shop actually costs $5. But there's maybe something else that you sort of wanted that was like $8. So you think to yourself, maybe I'll buy another $5 worth of currency, and that will get me this $8 thing. So you spend that, but now you have $2 left. And now you think, shit, but this other thing is like $15, or let's say $13. That's I only need, like $11, but I can't buy $11. I have to buy $15. So that's how they get you in it. And then once you're in it, you just start spending more and more and more because you already have some currency. Why not buy a little bit more currency? Hi, brother. How are you? Nice. Yeah, well, I understood, but I'm assuming you said that for YouTube's benefit. And it's been $600 on loot boxes and BDO this month due to the 60% sale and this buy now aspect. And now I hate myself. Holy crap. I have never spent money in cash shops. That's a lie. I can't say never. I did buy some champions in League of Legends back when, I was very young. I was still in college, actually. So I would use my mobile phone and I would use the data on my mobile to buy riot points. And then with the riot points, I would buy champions. But I think, all in all, I probably spent, over the course of about 5 years, I probably spent something like $1,000 on League of Legends. Buying mounts and, not mounts, champions. $10% VAT on it. So you're paying $8 to get $5, but you're paying 2 times 8 to get $10, only so you can get the $8 item. Make it make sense. Z Vengeance, the whole point is for them to basically screw you over as much as possible. Because the more they can get you to buy, the better it is for them. Yeah, Cyrus, that's of course another thing. I mean, every one of you by now must have watched the CEO of that one mobile company basically not admit to what they're doing, but gleefully boasting about how scumbag they are. Like, that was the biggest thing that stood out to me about the entire talk. I remember listening to this guy and thinking, man, this guy is actually boasting about how scumbag they are. He's proud of this. He's like proudly saying how cool they are and how much money they steal from their players. And she's like, what? How is this even normal? But I mean, yeah, in that they showed it. If you have a PvP game, you want to matchmake people with other people that have already bought skins and stuff. Because seeing those people that have bought skins makes you think, man, I should buy some skins so that I'm not the only one without a skin. And I hate to admit it, but that did work on me way back when I was much younger. I was playing League of Legends, and while I was playing League of Legends, I wanted to switch to Kog'Maw. I wanted to start playing Kog'Maw in the bot lane. And I remember playing as Nasus in the jungle, and there was a Kog'Maw on the enemy team, and he had the Jurassic Kog'Maw skin. And I remember looking at that thinking, man, that looks so cool. Holy crap, that looks cool. And so I ended up swiping in order to buy that skin. To this day, I'm not happy with that purchase. I know they're working on Smite 2. I'm not sure if Smite 2 is already out. Inky Black Dot, I'll be honest with you, until about 2 weeks ago, I could never understand why anyone plays gacha games. But I think I kind of get it. I think I kind of understand it. I still wouldn't play it myself because to me it just looks silly. But a friend of mine was showing me all of the stuff that she does every single day in her particular, I don't know what gacha game, ZZZ or some shit like that. I don't know what the game is, but I think it's one of those. And all the stuff that she's doing every single day in that game, and the characters in the game is like super sexy and hyper feminine, and it allows her to really immerse herself in the game. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, all right. That probably kind of makes a little bit of sense. So I sort of get why girls play gacha games.
Oh, damn. Thank you.
Reno, thank you so much for joining the membership, bro. Really appreciate you. Thank you. You're far too kind, sir. Yes, I don't really get why guys play it. Probably because there's a lot of girls playing it. Because from at least the research that I've done, the gacha gaming industry has the most women. Like, gacha games is the one place where men and women are. In some gacha games, they're not even close to equal. There's more girls that play the games than what there are guys. Playing Ark, not a close friend or anything. I really appreciate it right now. Really appreciate it, sir. His name Power Creep, Premium Gods. Surprised women play gacha. Why, Alistar? It seems like it's the ultimate female fantasy. You have characters, female characters with incredible sex appeal. That allows you to basically RP to your heart's content. Saying that women also love hot dudes and girls? No. Please don't take my words out of context. Everyone knows that girls like fat chicks. I'm just suggesting that the gacha games probably have a lot of fat chicks in them. Let's not twist words here. Who am I to go against what the mainstream media tells me? They tell me that all girls love female characters that kind of look like dudes. That's apparently what sells. Also, they absolutely love playing a character that is going through an existential gender crisis. That's why Dragon Age the Veilguard did so incredibly well. I mean, it makes sense when you really think about it, right? Gacha is about selling lonely people cute characters that knows no gender. I don't know much about gacha games. I don't play them. I've never had a gacha game installed on my PC ever. Nani, your message that you wrote to me that said maybe has only just come through on my side. They remade the horse microtransaction Oblivion. That was the best troll I've ever seen in my life. That was actually quite funny, Niara. That was actually quite funny. I think Tekla, I know he's from Europe, might be Netherlands. I know Grofal is from the Netherlands. The more gacha or mobile games because they have more time. It's basically how social media became so big. I wouldn't say that that's wrong. And Shadow Rodney, your taste message is now only coming through. Dudes, we have a broken stream at the moment. Not even gonna lie. Chat's completely broken. Zerlane, I'm not saying shit. I don't know. I don't even know what that is. Don't even know what that is. Of course, they love fat chicks, less rivals. That's what my dude friends want me around too. I feel like for guys, Kestras, that's not actually true. I can see why some girls will tell fat chicks they look cute. Because, hey, I don't have to compete with the fat bitch. But for guys, that's generally not true. What I have found when it comes to dudes is if you're fat, they'll make sure you know it. Like, I've never had a friend that looked at me and said, nah, bro, you look so cute, though. That would already be kind of weird if one of my guy friends said that to me. But that's never happened. You know, they make very sure that you know you're fat, bro. Men insult each other and don't mean it. Women compliment each other and don't mean it. I think generally I can see that. 132, how you doing? There are some companies. I have no problem with the remake of Oblivion. I have no problem with it. In my opinion, I think the body type A and B is silly, but it's not enough for me to say I want to block the game or I want to boycott the game. I think that's just nuts. I do think if you want to boycott every single game that just slightly steps over the line, it's not going to work. Nah. Just make it clear and then do mods. Because you already have the number one downloaded mod on Nexus mods is the mod that changes it back to male and female. And that should be fine because developers will eventually realize, oh, the players are just continuously modding this shit. Now, where I will say we should absolutely boycott games is if the developers somehow blocked that mod. So the developers went out and said, no, you can't mod male and female. It's body type 1 and 2. Then we boycott because that's bullshit. But otherwise, you know, is what it is. Who cares? People are finding other stuff they changed, like no gendered armors and art statues of females made less attractive. I don't know anything about that though, Logan, but if that is the case, I'll certainly look into it. And if that is what they did, then I think we're starting to reach a point where we can now say, wait, guys, this is bullshit. Like, why are you guys doing this? And we're getting close. So when they start to change remasters, it's sort of like I don't know if you guys know the Witcher remaster that's coming. Witcher 1 is getting a remaster. I have half a mind to say that game should be boycotted, but I am certainly aware of the fact that it probably won't be. But they've already admitted that game is getting the modern audience treatment because they're removing the cards from Witcher 1. So yeah, they're removing all of the cards. Now, for those of you that never played Witcher 1, in Witcher 1, you could sleep with as many women as you could. You're basically a slut in Witcher 1. And the whole point is you get a card system where you can collect as many cards as possible. And for every woman that you sleep with, you get a card. So a mini game within the game was to collect as many cards as possible. Back when games were actually good, you know? Alistair, yeah, you go play Witcher 1. For every single sexual encounter you have, you get a card of the woman that you had sex with. So you're literally collecting cards as you play through the game. It's fantastic. Did you get a free one after getting 12? Like, I don't remember. I never finished it. The gameplay was tough. Like, the gameplay for 1 is bad. The story was good, but the gameplay is really rough. Yeah, there were also rare cards, so some sexual encounters were way rarer than others. Imagine if they had a tavern game with cards. I prefer Witcher 1 over 2, but Witcher 3 is peak. Witcher 3 is definitely one of the best games ever made. This is one of my favorite RPGs of all time. What do you think about Sandfall Interactive in terms of how they react to the praise they get, in terms of quality of the game and how they did it with such low dev numbers? I actually have so much respect for Sandfall games. I think the way in which they've handled pretty much everything has been phenomenally professional. They've not allowed themselves to get dragged into any of the culture war bullshit, even though there were some people trying to drag them into it. Instead, they've been incredibly humble, which is beautiful to see, because they kind of remind me in this way of Larian Studios. Because Larian was exactly the same. When Baldur's Gate 3 went as nuclear as it did, Larian didn't suddenly become these giant schmucks, right? They were just so grateful for the support and the love that the gaming community gave them. And I think that's amazing, right? I think that's super awesome. And I see the same thing from the guys at Sandfall. They genuinely appear to just be blown away by the love that players have shown them. As for the low dev numbers, I did see something funny. Who was it? It's one of the mainstream truthsayers that said people should stop lying. The dev numbers, Expedition 33 wasn't just made with 30 developers. And then they go on to show how of the developers, so there's 30 people that work for Sandfall, but then there's they made use of a Korean animator studio that had 8 people in that studio that worked on that game. And then they also include the choirs and stuff for the music compositions. So they include like a bunch of choir people, and there were multiple choirs as well as multiple orchestras that made the music. And the mainstream truth tellers was like, really, this game is more like 60 people that worked on the game. And I was like, Don't get me wrong. I think people who sing in choirs for games should be, but why are you trying to take away from the magnificence of this game? The majority of the game was still made by 30 people. So I don't know what the hell you're talking about. But yeah, even at 60, that's still like, what, 4, 5, 6, 7 times smaller than most AAA studios, right? So even at 60, that's still insane. The thing is, right? You are correct. Musicians and VAs are people who also made the game. But while that is phenomenal, right? The actual technical part of the game, the thing that everyone is sort of praising, the gameplay, the look, the feel of the game, that isn't VA or the music guys or anything. That's just the technical studio side of things. So to try and pretend like it's not as cool because it wasn't just 30 people, it's sort of like, well, actually, hold up. It was just 30 people. The actual core of the game was just 30 people. The things that came on that's also super awesome, right? And also amazing, that came on later, but the core was still just 30 people. Go Carnage, interview the 2 leaders of Sandfall team. Was it in English or in French, Nyara? No. The whole team. So when you include the VA, the choir, the composers and everything, the entire team is about 60 people. All in all. That was the article's point, was that the actual credits show about 60 people in the credits. By the way, what is your opinion on the election of the new pope? Ramifications for the rest of the Christian communities. So Rockon, I have no idea, right? I don't even know who the new pope is, or if they've even elected another pope. I'm not Catholic, so who the next pope is have zero effect on me, right? And what I do or don't do. So I genuinely don't care. I couldn't care less. I hope that the next pope isn't as woke as the last one. I guess I'll say that. Still cool. They use real actors and face scanned as they acted out each scene. It's very well done. Very, very well done. In English, Code doesn't speak French. Even you don't know. If the French had their way, everyone would be speaking French. So gotta ask. Obi-Wan, how you doing, brother? Dude, I would go so far as to say, even at 100 developers, a game like that would be kind of wild. Right? Even if I told you that Claire Expedition was made by 100 people, all of us would be like, whoa. Shit. Okay, just 100 people? How do I know this? Because Baldur's Gate was made by 350 people. And everyone at the time, myself included, was going, how is it possible that all of these large AAA studios are telling us you cannot compare us to Larian Studios? Larian Studios is a large studio with a shit ton of money. What they did was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And we were like, dude, they have the same amount of employees that you guys have. They don't have your budgets. What the hell are you talking about? Because I remember at the time there were Ubisoft developers that were saying, you can't judge us based on Larian Studios and Baldur's Gate 3. That's not how it's supposed to work. Um, so it's Black. They also then spoke about the IP and that it's the D&D IP and that no other game can compete. But that wasn't the only excuse. There were a number of excuses. The D&D IP was the least of the bothersome excuses. Because at least there you could say, well, yeah, true. Not everyone has the D&D IP, right? That is absolutely true. But fundamentally, it's that was not their only excuse. I remember because we covered it at the time, specifically on my WoW channel, because it was a WoW developer that sort of went off the rails and started to pretend like no other studio can match the budget that Larian Studios had for the game, and no other studio would be able to pull it off, so people shouldn't compare us to Larian Studios. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, if we're talking about studio sizes, you guys have more people. If we're talking about money, you guys have more money. This is obvious bullshit. Just obvious bullshit. At the time, Ubisoft today is about 18,000 people. At the time, Ubisoft was about 22,000 people. Ubisoft has let go about 4,000 people in the meantime. So, speaking of ex-WoW clowns, Yabara's been talking shit again. Dude, Yabara seems to be incapable of hitting a good point. At this point, I'm inclined to think that he's allergic to them. Because every single point I see from Yabara is him saying bullshit. Every single time he speaks. I'm like, wait. You just said that? Like, you said that out loud, right? For the whole world to hear. Why are you saying bullshit? Oh, man. Yabara is a clown. Man, when you can control yourself. It's as if people claim that you didn't knit that shirt yourself because 60 to 100 people are involved in making the its color, the knitting needle, and the shipping. Yeah. So Ubisoft has more employees than the amount of Urukai who marched on Helm's Deep. Think about that. Wow. That is insane. He thinks we are stupid. Dude, I think he thinks he's smart. That's the problem. Like, the dude literally said, no one wants Oblivion Remaster. Because old remasters can't hold up to Elden Ring. And it's like, really? Really, bitch? Like, dude, even drunk in a blind drunk stupor, you could wake me up and I'd be like, yeah, I think Oblivion will do just fine. Obviously, there's people that want to play that. What are you talking about? Mike was the beginning of the end for Blizzard. Why are people still listening to him is beyond me. I would say Mike came in when Blizzard was already over, to be fair. I don't think he helped, but I think Blizzard was over long before that. First thing, Master, lying to yourself. True, actually. Not wrong. Dude, I'm getting a headache having to look from one chat to the next. Just like, oh shit, where are we now? I quickly want to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Gentlemen, we are dealing with someone here who has absolutely no life.
I'm back. Yeah, I'm having severe technical difficulties with this thing. Like, severe. The issue is Twitch chat, the Grim Reaper, how you doing, bro? Twitch chat will not show up to alongside YouTube chat on the multi-chat. So I have to have two chats open to see what everyone is writing. It's very annoying. What was literally what Modern Warfare 4 was on PC just a decade ago. Do you wash your hands? Always wash my hands. I'm not like Asmongold. I don't just assume that my dick isn't dirty. It's been in my pants all day. There's definitely bacteria there. I don't want it on my hands. So, yep, I wash my hands. Z-Vengeance, I'm telling you, bro. Things are mega broken here. Like, things are mega broken here. There's a base with that statement? Wait, based how? Oh, Microsoft, I guarantee you they will push monetization front and center. Of course they will. YouTubers, I won't blame you guys anymore. Please stop sabotaging him. Dude, I don't think it's the tubers. Chat is breaking. Chat's been broken. It's not breaking. It's already broken. By the way, the production process for this game is pretty revolutionary. Models developed via character creator, basically Unreal meta-humans, but more fancy. Tossed into iClone, Rococo mocap into Unreal. Wow. Having a dirty dick is based. Heck yeah. Dude, I guarantee you, when you get to the end of the day, your dick is not clean. That would be like saying you just took a shit, but your ass is clean enough to eat from. Are you out of your mind? Of course your dick is dirty. And not just your dick. Even your armpits would be dirty by the end of the day. It's an area of your body that doesn't get much, what's it called? Ventilation. It gets no sunlight whatsoever. Of course, that's not a clean dick. Like, that's just not how it works. Basically, some capacities is AAA, but for like 10K. Just so the thing is, and this is literally one of the things I'm researching for a video, is this claim that games have gotten just so expensive and so difficult to make that the AAA space just can't compete. And it's just so obviously false when you look at the technology that is actually out there. The technology today makes it possible for one person to do the job of 10 people 10 years ago. Just because of how far we've come. So the fact that you still have development teams of like hundreds of people in AAA isn't because their games are more advanced or, you know, far more, I guess you could say, technical. It's because they're inefficient. They're making highly inefficient video games. Which is corpo greed. I don't even think it's corpo greed at this point, Black. Because I don't think they're lying. I think it genuinely does cost these corporations hundreds of millions of dollars to make video games. And the reason for it is they're highly inefficient at making games. They still have a shit ton of people involved in the pipelines of producing their video games all stuck in the past because everyone needs a job, you know? Unreal Engine is a super effective tool. Oh, yeah. From before, and the price. Black, I'm not suggesting that there is no corporate greed. So just to be clear, there is corporate greed involved in this as well. Like 100%. So I'm not suggesting that there is none. The point is, a lot of the price increases across the board, right? So a lot of these companies that are demanding that prices go to $70, $80, $90 isn't just greed. Greed is definitely a part of it, but there is also the part of them being highly inefficient at making their video games. Yeah, Jasso, but I feel like a lot of game companies sort of hyper focus on hyper realism. And maybe maybe this is a hot take. So if it is, then it is what it is. But I don't necessarily think hyper realism makes games better. I feel like for some games, hyper-realism works, but I wouldn't even say in any game hyper-realism is better. So, for example, take Clair Obscur. Clair Obscur is certainly not a hyper-realistic game. It is realistic, but it's not cyberpunk levels of realism. Would anyone here tell me that Cyberpunk wouldn't have been just as good if the graphics were on the level of Clair Obscur? Thomas, how you doing, bro? Makes them all the same, considering games need at least some kind of their own art style. I agree with that too. It's sort of like all the games just come out looking exactly the same. Now, I'm not suggesting that there isn't a place for hyper-realistic video games. There might be. I would say something like Death Stranding, for example. The hyper-realism of the game actually led to some really breathtaking moments in that game. But how much did it actually add to the overall enjoyment of the game? And would the game have been just as good if it wasn't that hyper-realistic? My argument would be, yeah, probably would have been just as good. You probably could have made it realistic graphics because the price problem comes in at hyper-realism. I sort of looked into some of the actual numbers on this. Going from realistic graphics to hyper-realistic graphics. So from like a Clair Obscur to a Cyberpunk or like a Death Stranding, you're looking anywhere from a 20 to a 50x in budget. From the one to the other. Now, I ask you, is the graphics of Death Stranding or Cyberpunk worth 20 to 50 times more money? Did it make the game 20 to 50 times better? You're not wrong, Inky Black. The Division 1 OG graphics were epic before it was downgraded. Corporate greed isn't the reason they fail, though. Asian companies are greedy too. The difference is they actually deliver a good product. Yeah, I have no problem with greed. Well, I have a problem with greed in terms of people shouldn't be greedy in general. But most people are greedy, so is what it is, right? I just have a problem with greed that isn't backed up by anything. Like, sure, if you want to be greedy, go for it. But then at least give me a reason to give you my money. Don't just be greedy for the sake of it. Digit, how you doing, brother? And I do apologize if I'm missing messages, guys. If I'm missing your messages, I'm having to go from one chat to the other consistently. So while I'm focusing on this chat is happening. So I'm trying to switch between the two. Yeah, I feel like Kojima could probably have gotten away with it. Would you call something like Mass Effect hyper-realistic or realistic? No, I would actually say for its time, Mass Effect was even for its time, Mass Effect wasn't really going for realism. It was going for almost like a sci-fi art direction. But it was certainly not going for realism. I mean, compare it to something that would be comparable to the time, would be something like Crysis. Like, if you compare Mass Effect graphics to something like Crysis, you very quickly see Crysis was trying to go for, like, super... At the time, it wasn't really possible to do hyper-realism, but it was definitely trying to go for, like, realism. Yeah, I would say Mass Effect is more really solid sci-fi animation, where the genre fits exactly what you would want from that. Bonjour. Here's an example. We didn't get this kind of outcome. What example is this? Oh, Tom Clancy stuff. Oh, yeah, I remember this, actually. Wait, I remember this. This was when Ubisoft pretended like this is the kind of thing people are gonna get. And then it turns out people didn't get this at all.
Snow is falling down just a little.
I'm sorry, I played that game. It didn't look this good. It did not look this good. Yeah. It didn't, because it was downgraded by a lot. Dude, I don't even necessarily know if it was downgraded. Advertisement for Blur Studio. I don't even think it was downgraded. The problem with a lot of these gameplay cinematics is that they're in-engine, not in-game graphics. So it's still a massive pre-rendered sort of cutscene that they've put together to just make it seem like it's gameplay. And yeah, I would say I don't even mind the ending of Mass Effect. I enjoyed the ending even for Mass. Because the game was so good and the ending felt like a good ending for what it was. And the ending felt like it wasn't supposed to be the end. Especially if you see some of the endings. There's a few endings that make it seem like there's more. Right? So it's almost like they were supposed to do Mass Effect 4, but then they sort of got down in the sort of idea of, oh, let's make some live service games instead. And Black Shogu, I absolutely agree with you. This is why I said I feel like a lot of companies sort of hyper focus on super realistic graphics when art direction, to my mind, is far more important than graphics. Like, you can have the best graphics in the world. If the art direction doesn't fit the game, those graphics don't matter. It's far more important that you have a coherent art direction than it is to even give a crap about like how good or bad your graphics is. because good and bad graphics is also incredibly subjective. I've used this example before, but I'm happy to do it again. World of Warcraft's graphics for World of Warcraft is good graphics. It's good graphics because the art direction for World of Warcraft is solid. It knows what it wants to be, and the art direction adds to the game. This quirky, sort of over-the-top kind of movement and combat effects and stuff in WoW, it works with the art direction. It wouldn't work with realistic graphics. You can't use Elder Scrolls graphics in World of Warcraft because the storytelling and the writing doesn't match that. So from my perspective, I think more games need to give up on the hyper-realism train and just start focusing on art direction instead. Jaso, so from what I understand, and this is, I might be wrong, but from the research at least, the company that we have to blame for this hyper-realism is Sony. Sony were the ones who decided to push the graphical fidelity of their games higher and higher and higher with every single game. They were insistent, and still is to this day, that if it's a Sony game, it has to look phenomenal. And they spared no expense. Something like God of War, they spent a shit ton of money making sure that that game is as good as it is. Oh man, this is way back in the day though. Black, all I can think of is that it's not so much... I do think there is a lack of creativity, but I think there's also an almost like an insistence that you want to sell games. Now, Steve Jobs talked about this. Berlana, how you doing? Steve Jobs talked about this. When Steve Jobs discussed the end of IBM and why IBM and those companies disappeared. Xerox, IBM, why these companies ultimately went the way of the dodo bird. And that was because they had controlled the market for so very long. There's not much more that you can do in terms of performance to push the performance. You're sort of at the limits of what current technology would allow from a performance perspective. And so what starts to take over is the marketing department. Because now that you have the best possible system in the world, you just need to sell that system to as many people as possible. And marketing wants to sell. So marketing will continuously come up with rebrands of shit. You saw this with Intel. Intel basically for the last 6 years have just done rebrands of their current architecture. Just continuously bringing out a new chip, which is the exact same architecture as the previous one, just slightly more optimized. Because that's marketing. Marketing needs something to sell, so you in engineering give them something to sell. And if that's a 5% uplift, then hey, we'll make it seem like it's a hell of a lot more than just 5%. iPhone does the same thing nowadays. It used to be under Steve Jobs, iPhone would actually put effort into making at least decent consumer items. That's long gone. Most of the iPhones that come out today is exactly the same iPhone as the previous one. So yeah, fundamentally... marketing, and by the way, you see it now with NVIDIA. The reason we have all of these phenomenally useless graphics cards from NVIDIA, like the 5060 8 gig and the 5060 16 gig, but neither of them is actually a 5060. And the 5070, but the 5070 is actually useless. You need to go for the 5070 Ti. The fact that you have all of these different ones is as a result of marketing departments. The marketing department needs a way to sell as many copies as possible. And by having multiple layers, you can trick as many people into buying the shit that you need. Now think about it from a games perspective. Think about you're in the marketing department working for EA. Can you market a story? Not really. Marketing a story would be near impossible, right? Because marketing a story would require a half an hour long cinematic to sort of introduce people to the story. So marketing a story is very hard. It's not completely impossible, but it is very difficult because stories tend to take time and you have to sort of lead people into the story. But what you can market is graphics. Graphics is easy. You see the cinematic. The cinematic is beautiful. The graphics are insane. People get excited. So that's why there's that incessant focus on graphics. It is the easiest way to get as many people as possible interested in your product. Because everything else is not really marketable. Can you market gameplay? Not until the game comes out. It's only once the game comes out and people start telling their friends how good the gameplay is that the gameplay will be a market in and of itself. Until then, you have a couple of things that you can do in order to market a game. The first is brilliant art direction. So, for example, Phasia, how you doing? For example, Elden Ring. Elden Ring's graphics is very good, right? But it's not hyper realistic. Although what marketed that game was twofold. George R.R. Martin was a big marketing factor for that game. And then the art direction. And then, of course, the fact that it's a Souls game. And they already have a name for themselves of being a Souls game. But even if you remove the Souls game, even I, as not really a Souls player, still enjoyed the cinematics of Elden Ring. And I still wanted to play Elden Ring because George R. R. Martin was involved in it and the graphics, the art direction was pretty decent. But story, how do you market it? How do you market it? Everything else requires more interaction than a simple look. Aphasia, literally that. So, thank you. You very succinctly summed up what I was trying to explain in about 10 minutes, so I appreciate that. But yes, you're absolutely correct. For every other aspect of a video game, you're going to need hours in order to convince someone, or a book. And so some games do books. So you make a game based on a book, the book markets the story, and now you can sell the game based off of that book. So you could do that too. And there's a couple of companies that have tried Lord of the Rings games with that sort of mindset. Kishra, sorry, that's an old message. I just realized I can't look at Twitch on this side. I have to look at Twitch on this side. FIFA the movie, it's just the World Cup, and England always loses. It also is based cinematics for FromSoft. So funny. I don't know much about the other games in From Software's arsenal. I've played Elden Ring and I loved it. I thought Elden Ring was phenomenal. But outside of that, I'm not hugely knowledgeable. For those of you wondering why we're not playing Clair Obscur, the reason is because the chat's completely screwed up. And it would, like, playing a game like this would be impossible. Unless I'm just ignoring you guys the whole time. So I'm really hoping the chat fixes itself so I can actually play video games. Grofal, ask Twitch what the hell happened with their API function, because I'm currently stuck having to read chat in 2 different windows. Which means I can't see anything else on my OBS. Tubers came and broke it. Well, since the tubers are working perfectly, maybe you broke it. Aphasia, the problem is, I have multi-chat because I'm on YouTube and on Twitch. So it's not possible for me to just pop it out from anywhere. Because it's clearly a Twitch problem. The issue is my OBS has multi-chat installed. Twitch won't show up on it. And Restream's chat will also not bloody work. Because for some reason, Twitch's API just isn't communicating at the moment. So the messages are taking like an hour to get through. Gotcha. Check out Ghost Chat. I think it has multi. Ghost Chat. I'll check it out. What is your opinion on the new Pope election? Oh, Rakan, I just saw that. Wait, didn't you get my answer? Rakan. Are you asking again, or am I just now seeing your message? Ghost Chat. Let me search it and then bookmark it so I can play around with it. All right, I have it bookmarked. Oh, Rakan, I saw the message, but I can answer it here. Okay, so I don't really care about the next pope at all, right? So because I'm Protestant, so from my perspective, whoever the pope is of no consequence to me. Because the pope doesn't speak for me or for my faith. That's only for Roman Catholics. So I don't even know who the popes or the potential popes are. I know nothing about them. So I could sit here and tell you, oh, I want this pope. But that would be a lie. I don't even know who he is. I'm assuming, do you have an opinion? Like, which pope do you like? Pricing were literally 30-40, 60-17. Now they're almost the same. We need a great black pope. To swallow a Helsing Abridged joke there. This is a new message. Dan Clancy heard us talking shit earlier. Well, then why didn't he just break it completely? Why break it in this most annoying of ways? There's an Asian pope, a Ugandan pope, and a Hungarian pope who's conservative and wants to bring the Catholic and Orthodox. Do you think the Catholic and the Orthodox Church can actually be married? New pope shapes how Vatican interacts with other Christian churches globally. That is true. Isn't new pope was elected by voting of bishops? Savanda, yeah, so the new pope does get elected by the bishops. They basically deliberate until one of the popes can be chosen, or until they have a new pope. I refuse to touch anything from Hi-Rez anymore. No, he doesn't want to merge them, just wants us to be better friends. Oh, okay. I think there's a higher chance that the Orthodox and the Catholic Church comes together than there is for, like, say, for example, my church, the Baptist Church, and the Catholics and the Orthodox to come together. I think you'd have one hell of a time trying to bring those churches together. I wouldn't say Catholics and Protestants don't get along, because we agree on a lot of stuff. I would say on more than 70% of everything, the Protestants and the Catholics perfectly agree. The parts where we disagree is on the Pope. We don't believe that the Pope is a spokesperson for anything, so we don't really care for the Pope. We don't necessarily agree on the church structure, the way they structure their churches. But then there are some Protestant churches that do structure similarly to the Catholics. So that, again, isn't really a Protestant thing, because there is actually no such thing as a Protestant. There's just the Protestant group because they protested the Roman Catholic Church. But in that, there's so many different denominations, each believing something slightly different. Most, though, agree on most things. But where I would sort of say, so where I would put myself when it comes to the Catholic Church, my issues with the Catholic Church is as follows. I don't believe that the Pope is the spokesperson for Jesus Christ on earth. I think that's insane. I also do not believe that a priest has the ability to forgive sins. Only Jesus does that. I also do not believe that Mary has any power whatsoever, or that Mary should be venerated or prayed to. I don't believe that you should pray to the saints, or that the saints matter. I don't think any of that is important. And then finally, I don't believe in their Eucharist. The fact that Catholics believe that the wine literally becomes blood, and that the bread literally becomes the body, to me seems insane. So I would say those are the big things. Everything else, we can sort of agree to disagree. Not even the other Protestants. That's true. But again, you have to understand the history of Protestantism, right? The history of Protestantism sort of means that everyone is going to have their own interpretation of certain parts of the Bible. You don't like who too much, Tekla? Decentralized, it'll take hundreds of years to combine everything again. The only thing that could combine all of the churches again would be Jesus. And that's it. There is no, but I would still point out, in the event of, say, a war breaking out and Catholicism being under attack, Protestants would come and help. If the Orthodox were under attack, Protestants would come and help. Because while we disagree on how the church should operate, and we disagree on where the churches should be and stuff, we still view you as Christian. And so we will come and help if you're in trouble. We just don't want to be in the same church as you. Yeah, when Jesus comes again. I had this conversation a while ago with someone as well who sort of wanted to discuss the ability of bringing all of the churches together. At least in theory, bringing the churches together. I was like, no, it won't happen. By the way, what is your opinion on split between Oriental and Eastern Orthodox churches regarding the nature of Christ? What's the difference, though? Okay, sorry, I'm not that. I will admit, I'm not that well read on the Orthodox Church. I know very little about the Orthodox Church. I know obviously a lot about Catholic churches because they're sort of everywhere, right? So you kind of do know a little bit about them. They're a minority here in South Africa, but you see movies and there's always like the Catholic churches in the movies. So I kind of know a little bit about them, but I know absolutely nothing about the Orthodox Church. Dude, my mentions currently on X is an absolute hellscape. This is so crazy. Sorry, I'm just, yeah. I think I'm a little annoyed today, actually. Oh, I definitely agree with this stance, Rakan, that you just shared here. No, Z Vengeance is actually something different. It's such a long story, though. It's this. So I made the mistake of going into the Red Pill movement, and I say it's a mistake because you end up talking to people that it just so brain dead that it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible to make sense of it. But so this guy, I saw this earlier today, T. Johnny. I'm glad God didn't make me a cuck like this. And it's
I've been cheating on him for 3 years. I've been cheating on him for 3 years with his best friend. We had 2 kids, 3 and 6 years old. And he could have walked away, should have walked away, could have. And when all this came out, and I hid it for 3 years in the church, when all of this came out, he looked at me and listen, A good therapist knows your feelings are valid and you can feel all of those things. He was mad. He was hurt. He was confused. He was disoriented. All those things were still true. None of that was underscored or not a part of his experience. But what was also a part of his experience, because he had been submitting and surrendering to the Lord so faithfully for so long, was he literally looked at me, and all I expected him to do was exactly what every man had done in my life, my dad, all these other men, was to leave. And instead, he looked at me and he said, Casey, I don't know how to not love you. That is when Jesus became my Lord.
So to me, right, obviously it's crazy that this woman cheated on her husband for 3 years with his best friend. And obviously all of this is bad. But it would appear to me as if Jesus used, or God used this to bring her to Jesus Christ. Because when her husband forgave her, she became a Christian. She says it right at the end of the video. In that moment, his forgiveness led her to Jesus, and she repented of her sins. And that's what I said. I was like, wait, so God using his servant to bring a woman to Christ is somehow cock behavior. I don't know who she is now, but if she truly was born again, I know for a fact she is no longer the same person as she was when she first cheated on him. Bro, holy crap. The Red Bull boys are out in force. You have no idea. The level of stupidity that I've had to deal with this entire afternoon has been insane. The stuff that I've had to talk about and the amount of self-righteousness in the replies is absolutely unhinged. Absolutely unhinged. So yeah, that's why when I just opened Twitter, I had something like 20 plus notifications. And as I clicked on it, I was like, oh crap, we're still on this. Tekla, the problem is that most of these guys don't even know the Bible. In fact, I had one interaction with a guy that was so incredibly stupid and brain dead that I just realized, wait, so there's literally no point in even talking about this. I quoted to this guy something Paul said, and this guy came back to me and he was like, oh shit, quoting Paul, I'd be careful with that. As if Paul isn't in the Bible, an credible source in the Bible. So this man has deconstructed the Bible to the point where he's gotten rid of Paul or any of the unnecessary bits that he doesn't like. And I was just like, oh, wait, okay, there's no point in this. We're wasting our time here. Like, if you and I can't even agree on what the actual Bible says, there's literally no point. Inky Black Dot, I would like to ask, though, when you say love unconditionally, what do you see as love? Like, what is love to you? Well, what is unconditional love to you? They're basically the true virtue signaling opposite of woke people. Obi-Wan, so these are people that I don't regard as Christian. They are people who use religion as a way to justify their own positions. So they basically pick the religion apart. They go into the Bible, and any verses that sort of go against their worldview gets completely rejected. No, I don't care about that. And they'll find good reasons for it. So they'll find some professor somewhere that once upon a time said that Paul can't be trusted for XYZ reason. And they're like, see, Paul, I don't care about Paul because Paul was full of shit. I only care about this part of the Bible, or those parts of the Bible. This particular guy was talking about how the Christian way would have been to stone this woman to death. And when I said to him, what the hell are you talking about? He was like, it is in the law, adultery gets a stoning. And I was like, all right, bro. So by your own measurement, have you ever looked at a woman and had lustful thoughts? Because if you have, your stoning is tomorrow morning at 8. Because that's adultery. You've committed adultery already, which means we have to stone you too, you know? But of course, all sorts of reasons as to why, no, that's not how it works. So yeah, it's sort of like, I'm more and more convinced than ever that the Red Pill movement is made up of the most stupid people in the world. But not just the Red Pill movement. For example, I would say the climate change movement is also made up of the most stupid people. And it's actually wild that these people don't get along. Because they're equally stupid. Ingy Black Dot, I do agree with that. I mean, the reason I asked you to sort of clarify is there's a lot of people that think of love as sort of a, you have to okay people's sin, and you have to sort of be like, no, you're perfect, you're good, nothing's wrong with you, everything's brilliant. And in that sense, obviously, that's not what love means. But you are correct. If you're gonna love someone, if you are a Christian and it calls us to love and forgive, it truly does mean we have to forgive. If we don't forgive, we will not be forgiven. Chinese, and I translated Timu ads. Dude, I don't know what the hell is wrong with Twitch. Are people chatting in Twitch? Are people not chatting in Twitch? Because the pop-up is saying people aren't chatting in Twitch. I don't know. Like, this chat is annoying. The eco activists, I sometimes think they are plants to look at. To make Obi-Wan. It would be better, I think, for my view on humanity, if that was true, but I don't think it is. Yes, that I saw, and as I say to you, Rakan, I agree with that. So I do believe, from my perspective, Jesus Christ is one person of one substance, and he is both Christ and man at the same time. So I don't believe that there is two. I don't believe that there's two versions, one heavenly version, one earthly version. Jesus is both Christ and both man at the same time. Obi-Wan, the thing is, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how stupid people get when it comes to ideology. When people have ideology, and when people become ideological, there are some crazy stupid things that they'll do. Because their ideology becomes their entire worldview. Thank you for answering these OBS problems. Dude, I promise you, I agree with you. This is the most annoyed I've been during a stream. Not with you guys, I love you guys. But with the technical problems that we're having, I am mega annoyed at the moment. Really not having a good time. It's called the Holy Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, or all are God. Logan, true. Apparently, we have proven plants have a form of trauma response equivalent to human screaming. I don't even think, like, dude, the whole vegetarian, vegan bullshit is also something that really annoys me to no end. If the whole world went vegan, we would legitimately have hunger problems. We would have starvation on a massive scale. because farming, as in produce farming, takes up a lot of space. And you don't feed as many people as you think you do. Right? So a single acre of potatoes, might feed 100, 200 people, maybe, right? Not even. Whereas a single cow, well, on its own, for a single day, probably feed upwards of 30 to 40 people. Just one cow. So if you remove meat entirely from the equation and people have to get everything they get straight from plants, there's not enough space in the world for that. What would you do anyway? Release cows into the wild to die? Logan, yeah, that's just, I guess, kill all the cows and then, or let them roam free. I don't know. Like, it's crazy. But sort of, that's my problem with the whole green movement. Nothing is ever really thought through. No one ever spends any time trying to ask themselves, wait, is this actually a good idea? It just doesn't seem like those questions ever really pop up. We spoke about battery cars, for example. Electric vehicles. It's all fun and games. Electric vehicles, they're faster or just as fast as fuel and all the rest of it. But when it comes to actually refueling your electric vehicle, no one ever seems to ask the fundamental question, what does that infrastructure actually look like? Because to refuel an electric vehicle, so to recharge it, takes the shortest that you can do it in is 20 minutes for an 80 to a 90% charge? If you wanted to go full, it would be way longer than that. So what do fueling stations suddenly look like? Like, how many fueling stations are you going to need to put up and how big are they going to have to be? What's the waiting times going to be? Because I know of fueling stations here in South Africa that service tens of thousands of cars a day. Can you imagine if you have like 1,000 cars pulling in to a petrol station or a gas station in America, all needing to be refueled right now? It'd be chaos. And no one ever stops to ask, well, how exactly do we deal with this? Because electric vehicles in cities kind of make sense. You can charge at home. It doesn't make any sense on the road. Yeah, fuel is super, super expensive. No, fuel in South Africa is beyond expensive. But to be fair, about 70% of the price of fuel in South Africa is government money, taxes and levies and all the rest of it. So the overall price of fuel should be a lot cheaper, but the government taxes the living crap out of fuel. Oh yeah, I saw this. I actually saw this. And once these things start to burn, they don't stop. Man, how pissed would you be if this was your house? Like, how pissed would you be? Because this is nuts. Right? At this point, your whole house is burning down. Oh, Oh, damn. Caught red-handed. I just love how that dog got the fright of his life, dude. Like, that dog just lost his shit. When, when that thing started to spark, the dog was like, what the hell did I just do? I think I saw hundreds of videos of Chinese electric vehicles just bursting in flames randomly. Yep. And you want to know the funny thing? Everywhere I go, like, Chinese vehicles is everywhere here, bro. There's so many Chinese vehicles here in South Africa. It's insane. Ah, guys, I think we're gonna have to give up for tonight. This is clearly not working. This chat is just driving me insane. Because the pop-up chat isn't working. Not having it on the pop-up chat makes it impossible to follow the conversation. Doors were locked and no one came. They were burned to death. I love dogs. The implication makes me sad. Luckily, in America at least, you guys seem to have doggy doors or pet doors. We don't have that here. But yeah, I apologize for today, guys. I apologize for being a little annoyed and just things didn't start well in the stream. Being technical difficulties out the wazoo just added to the annoyance. Hopefully the technical difficulties get sorted. Clean. 40 months part of the DJ Nation. I appreciate you. Thank you. You're far too kind. Hopefully this is fixed by tomorrow so we can play some games again. Because yeah, this chat issue is nuts. I'm seeing Twitch messages at least like a minute or two after they come through. I don't know what's wrong with Twitch, but it is what it is. I'm gonna go watch some Walking Dead. Oh, clean. My Twitch chat's broken, so it's difficult to get. I can't see both Twitch and YouTube on the same chat at the moment. So it's a bit of a nightmare. The thing uses the connect app function. Tried to disconnect and reconnect it. I've tried Z Vengeance. I've tried to disconnect it multiple times. It just won't work. Caleb, yeah, it's working pretty well on screen, but it's not coming through at all on my OBS. So to show you, right? This is the message from Rakan. This is the one that just came through from Rakan. But that message was sent, what, 10, 15 minutes ago? Right, so it is... what are you supposed to do with this? This is just insane. Hopefully they fix it. We'll try again tomorrow. And then tomorrow we'll play some Clair Obscur. I'll probably have more videos for you guys tomorrow as well. And I promise to come in a much better mood. Tomorrow, I promise. Back on the old channel for chat after this. My bro will be using this one from here on out. Thanks for being a source of inspiration. Oh, Inky Black Dot, if you have any questions or if you need any advice, please feel free to DM me. I'd be happy to help out. Ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate all of you for coming out, for hanging out with me, for spending some time with me. I hope you enjoyed, the 3 hours or so that we did of stream. Even if it was me being slightly annoying or annoyed, or probably annoying as well. I don't know. You guys have to decide that on your own. Enjoy your evening. And I hope that you guys are safe, that you're taken care of. And as always, be good to each other, be kind to each other. And I will see all of you tomorrow. Peace.